Yes?
I'm a student in environmental sanitation, and I have a question about environmental issues. What is your opinion about organizing a structure which can defend or can be deployed dynamically in regions where there is environmental disaster, such as wood fires or oil spilling, in which the regions cannot tackle this problem? Can Europe build a structure so that this can be organized efficiently?
There is a proposal that I have supported, not only for environmental, but in general for, how do you say in English, protection civile, civil protection, I think. It was proposed by, it's not so difficult to do. It was proposed, it was during the Austrian presidency, myself and Chancellor Schussel, we have asked Michel Barnier, he's now the Agriculture Minister of France, he was a former commissioner. We have asked him to make a report to propose a civil protection force for Europe, for disasters, calamities, including environmental. Namely the forest fires, that they are very common in southern of Europe. I was last year in Greece during the fire, devastating fires, or other kinds of disasters, natural disasters or other kinds of disasters, to have a kind of a quick reaction force. Unfortunately, there is not yet agreement in the Council, but we are pushing that idea forward. To have it should be a kind of a decentralized. We are not asking member states to have a central force, everybody here in Belgium or in Brussels. No, no. What we are asking the member states is to have specific force for firemen, or for avalanche in other parts of it, or experts for chemical disasters, or other kinds of police, firemen, and experts of this kind of disasters to be kind of together with their national affiliation with the European flag, and to be on a permanent disponibility basis ready in a European scenario or outside of Europe. For instance, when there was the tsunami in Asia, Southeast Asia, and Indonesia, and many other parts of the world, in that part of the world, we gave a lot of help and support, namely financial support. I went there together with Prime Minister Juncker. At that time, he was the President of the Council. And, but in fact, we were lacking a more coordinated agency or presence for this kind of disasters, including the environmental disasters.
Thank you very much. Yes, Ms. Schutte.
A bit louder, please. Neighbourhood policy is externally one of our first priorities. Yes, because this is where we can have more impact, and we are developing it. Namely with Mediterranean, so northern of Africa and Middle East, and with Eastern Europe. For instance, Ukraine. Just yesterday I received Prime Minister Tymoshenko from Ukraine, for instance. And we are developing those instruments. Now, the problem is, to be completely open about this, is that when we speak about neighborhood policy, we try to have a single concept, an integrating concept to many different and diverse situations, you see. And so we cannot have the same kind of approach to Ukraine or to Central Asia than we have to the Middle East or we have to the Maghreb countries, for instance, to Northern Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, for instance. They are very difficult, very different, and very diverse situations. But yes, we are developing this idea. And there are interesting ideas going on, and there is in fact a discussion now, and you have heard about the proposal of President Sarkozy about the Union pour la Méditerranée, a union for the Mediterranean, and we are trying to see how can we make that idea of more investment in the Mediterranean, from our European Union point of view, with keeping European united in that field. So this is indeed a priority for the European Union. Now, if I understood correctly, you spoke also about double standards. We cannot have exactly, externally, the same standards we have in Europe. To become a member of the European Union, as you know, there are very strict standards in terms of economy, law, and also in terms of human rights. But with our neighbors, we are promoting it. Some people speak about this as the transformative power of the European Union. As you know, there is that concept, transformative power. And I personally believe, and I've been studying that at university, and I was teaching that, in terms of democratization of regimes, that Europe has been doing more for that than any other part of the world. If you think about how Europe was some years ago and how Europe is today, look, in the 70s, my country, and the southern of Europe, they were not democracies. Spain, Portugal, Greece. In the 70s, I was in university. I was more or less with your age. And my country was not yet a free country. I could not read the books I wanted. I could not listen to the music I wanted. This was. And more recently, all central and distant parts of Europe were living under dictatorships and totalitarian regimes. Some of those regimes were not even, the countries were not even independent, like the Baltic countries, that were occupied by Soviet Union. And today we have in Europe 27 countries united around the values of freedom and democracy and rule of law. That's why I cannot be pessimistic about the future of Europe. When you look how Europe was 60 years ago, or 30 years ago, or 10 years ago, and how Europe is now, it's much stronger from all points of view. From all points of view, politically and economically, and with more influence outside. But of course, sometimes people forget about this evolution. They don't, and this was possible to a large extent because of the catalyzing factor of the European Union. I can tell that from my own experience. In my country, the European Union, the European community, was the most important element for the consolidation of democracy. And the same is applying now to Poland, to Czech Republic, to Hungary, to all the other countries who joined. They wanted to, and it is also an inspiring factor for the Balkans that still have a lot of problems. They are still there. So I think we should be proud also about the contribution that the European Union, by its own example, has represented for democracy and the values of freedom and solidarity, not only in Europe, outside. Because what happened in Europe, for instance, with Spain and Portugal, was a source of inspiration for Brazil, Argentina, for all Latin America. So, and the people of those countries were looking. These countries were going from dictatorships to democracies, open, and they are making progress. They are evolving. That's why I think we should be proud in the European community, European Union, also about the contribution, not only the economic aspects, but the contribution for democracy and freedom, also in other parts of the world.